Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Getting back to work on the Cobra in this video. As I'd mentioned in previous videos, I have quite a bit of stuff to get done on the car in the off season this year. So I'm going to be, getting to work on the rear suspension, kind of working from the back to the front is my plan. I have, all new suspension parts. I want to get into some of the transmission issues, engine oil pan and front cover leaks, things like that. So going to be quite a bit to accomplish. So what I'm gonna do in this video, first thing I gotta do is get the car up in the air, get the wheels loosened up, removed, and then I will start tackling the rear suspension. I need to get the rear springs and shocks out, as well as the quad shocks, and then it's gonna be time to install factory 5 coilovers in the back, as well as some new hardware, things like that. So that being said, gonna go ahead, get the car up in the air, and then I will bring you back once that is done. All right, well here you can see vehicle is up in the air, wheels and tires are off, all four corners, so all ready to go as far as the work goes. So like I said, what I'm gonna do is start in the rear end, start working my way forward with all these little projects I have to do. So that is gonna have me starting with the rear coilover kit. So here before me is the actual kit that I received from Factory 5. I've opened everything up, obviously, so you will get your Coney shocks, bump stops, and 350-pound springs. Those are the standard spring rates. And then over here you have all of the collars. These are the threaded sleeves that go on the shocks. These are the actual collars that the springs sit in that are adjustable. Some washers, clips, and the spacers for installing these shocks into the existing brackets on the car. So was looking at the instructions online. No instructions come in the box. You have to look them up, and they are available if you just Google, Factory 5 Cobra coilover installation. You'll find instructions for both the front and the rear. It'll give you all the information you need as far as putting everything together. I will say the instructions are from 2007. Should be still fairly accurate for the vehicle, but there may be some adjustments. We'll see as I dig in. So here is what I am up against. I'm going to be installing these on this car. When I was looking at those instructions, I noticed a note at the very beginning saying if you have a 90 or 87 to 93 rear end and disc brakes, you will have to relocate the caliper to the front of the axle. And here is why. The coilovers are installed inverted with the springs on the bottom based on clearance. So it looks like this is going to be a little bit more of a job than I anticipated, because I will have to remove the rear brakes. Everything basically has to be swapped sides. So I need to get the calipers and all the backing plates and things like that. Put the one on the left on the right and vice versa, the right on the left. So that means I have to break open the hydraulic lines, get new copper washers, and I'm going to have to rebleed the system and all that fun stuff, which I'm not looking forward to because it's just always such a joy dealing with hydraulic braking systems. So that is one problem I'm going to be up against. Another one that I'm looking at is the shock mount, where the holes are here. You can see it there. That's pretty close to where that body panel is. So there's, I don't know, when this was built, it looks like things might have been off a little bit. I don't know. But yeah, that might be a problem. So I'm gonna have to look into that because I don't see another mounting hole anywhere, and that's where the shock needs to go through with these coilovers. So that's gonna be something fun that I'm gonna come up against. So I guess first steps are going to be to start removing some of the existing components that are on here that don't need to be. Quad shock and mount can all come off on both sides, as well as the retainer straps and the springs that are in the perch here. This is, again, an older build, and those are Mustang springs that were cut down to work. And then the shocks themselves. So that all is going to need to come out, so I'm going to start messing around with that. And before I get started, there is one other thing I forgot to mention. This is the other part of the installation that's going to be going in. These are Steeda aluminum rear control arms. I've used these on multiple builds in the past and have loved them. They've always been really good about not having bind in the rear end. They've been very cooperative. I know that's a very common issue with the 4-link rear, is you can get binding based on the bushings. These ones have variable bushings. The ones that go in the upper, as you can see, there are a different durometer than on the one end versus the other. And like I said, in the past I've used these, they've been great, and they're also aluminum, so you shave some weight over the stock stamped arms. They're pretty light. I'll do a measurement comparison weight-wise of stock versus these just to see what weight is shaved, but wanted to give you a heads up that these are going to be going in as well. So part of this installation will be removing all of the control arms from the back of the car. All right, so I am looking at the setup that I have here in my car and was going over the instructions that I found online. Also went back through the build manual that I have, which my build manual is an old first gen Mark I manual from when the company was first formed. I had ordered it just because I liked the car. As a reminder, I did not build this car. I bought this car used a few years ago. It was built in 2000 by somebody else. But anyway, looking at the instructions for the coilover kits and what I have here on my vehicle, it looks like I have, mine's a Mark II. The brackets for the rear suspension that were provided by Factory 5, these actually look like the same ones that are in the Mark I manual I have. They do not look like what is in the book or the instructions for the coilover retrofit kit. It looks like that kit has you mounting the shocks or the coilover lower end in some sort of larger bracket. Like the anti-squat bracket here is different in that photo. I don't know if that's because they also address if you have a 3-link, maybe that's why. I'm guessing I should be able to go ahead and just mount it in the factory bracket there, like the stock shock is. I will say that there's mention of different spacers and things like that in those instructions. I didn't get those. My kit came with 6 spacers that are all the same width, and they are 4 of them will use 2 each side up here. I don't know where the other one goes. I'm thinking that maybe there's supposed to be a long bolt based on the photos that hold the shock here coming straight back like that, and you can space it out with those spacers, 1 on each side. So it's going to be a kind of figure it out as I go along, it looks like, based on what I have to work with and what instructions are there. Also, no bolts were included in my kit for the uppers, which is no big deal. I'll go ahead. I know it's a 1/2 inch, 4-inch long nut and bolt. I was going to order all titanium hardware anyway, because with bigger bolts, I like to go titanium just to lose a little weight. That's just a thing I do. So yeah, that is the next group of issues it looks like I'm going to be coming across. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and start disassembling a few things and see where I end up. All right, so I'm underneath the car, and I did remove the quad shock from the driver's side, as well as the bracket that was all up here. There was the 2 bolts that went in here, held the plate on, and then the quad shock went across. And then there was the strap that came down and hooked up to the lower shock bolt, which you can see I just have the new nut loosely on there because I had to drop it down and remove the strap. So that being said, I was going ahead and looking at how this thing needs to be set up. And I do have one of the coilovers here. I did put these threaded sleeve and spring on the way it's supposed to go on, just so I can kind of hold it in place. So what I'm thinking the process is for the installation on this vehicle is this bracket has to be removed. I can use a bolt with the 1 additional spacer that's about 1 inch long. I think it's 1 1/8 inches exactly. That will go, the bolt will come in from this side, the spacer will go on, then the shock goes onto that, and then the nut on the end. And that's what's going to hold the coil assembly on the bottom. And then up top again, there's a 4-inch nut and bolt that you're supposed to have, and then a spacer on each side that keeps it centered in that perch up there. So that appears to be what I need to do to install the coilovers on this vehicle. It does look like, yes, I will have to relocate the calipers when I held the coilover assembly in place. There will definitely be interference with the caliper body, so that unfortunately is going to be part of this process. So I think that's where I'm going to end this one. It seems like a pretty good space to stop. I think I'm on the right track and have kind of figured out where everything needs to go, how it needs to be assembled. So hopefully going forward, it should be a little bit more smooth. One thing I mentioned earlier was that I was going to go with titanium hardware. It's been a couple years since I've ordered titanium hardware. It was for the MR2 a few years back, and they were slightly smaller metric bolts. I looked into the price of the bolts for this, the 1/2 inch -13, and I would be looking at about $402 for 12 bolts and 12 nuts. That's ridiculous. I probably wouldn't even save a pound, so I am going to go to the hardware store and just get fresh grade 8 parts and be done with it with those. Off camera, I'll go ahead and catch the passenger side up to the driver's side as far as everything I've removed already. Next video, I'll also probably start weighing things that are being removed as well as going in, so I can kind of show you what the before and after is as far as weights on parts. So follow along. If you are interested in seeing where things go with this, following along, seeing how it turns up, please hit like, please hit subscribe, please hit the notification bell. I also do have a new merch store. I'm selling some shirts and some other stuff. There's a link to it in my description, and you'll probably see some items below the video scrolling across on the YouTube channel. If you're interested, check it out. And that being said, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.